Can chicken wings cost a man his life? That's the price teacher Charlie is willing to pay for them. Whether he will be able to come to his senses, no one knows. An online lesson for college students takes place unusually. The teacher's camera is turned off, allegedly due to malfunction. After completing a lecture, Charlie does not get up from the couch and turns on a video for adults, and already habitually entertains himself. The fat man does not have time to finish, because he gets sick. His heart cannot take the strain, and Charlie grabs his chest. From the heart attack, the fat man begins to panic. His phone falls out of his hands, but luckily at that moment a sextant preacher enters the apartment. Charlie asks his guest to read aloud to him one of the essays from the table, and the guy, without asking too many questions, complies with the request, stopping all the time offering to call an ambulance. Charlie is visited by his friend Liz. The girl takes her boyfriend's blood pressure and also asks him to call an ambulance, but Charlie refuses. He has no health insurance, and he does not want to save up his debts for treatment. The preacher boy watches curiously, especially when Liz helps the fat man grab a walker and drags him to the bathroom. Liz asks her guests to leave. The preacher's sect is responsible for Charlie losing his close friend, after which he brought himself to a severe condition. The girl once again asked her buddy to go to the hospital, but he refuses to discuss it, and the couple sits down to watch TV. After a couple of minutes Charlie starts fidgeting, and Liz understands without a word what he wants. She served him a huge bucket of fried chicken. Waking up in the middle of the night, Charlie wipes his greasy hands on his t-shirt, and rereads his essay on the giant whale Moby Dick, thinking that he looks like this whale. The fat man leans on his walker, and drags himself to his bedroom. The man's giant body struggles to fit on the bed, and he falls asleep. In the morning, Charlie opens his laptop and studies the consequences of his obesity and blood pressure spikes, eating several candy bars along the way. After reading about the consequences, Charlie pulls out his phone and after thinking for a while, dials a number. Barely able to move, the fat man goes to shower, puts on clean clothes, and adds food to the bird feeder. There is a knock at the door. Ollie, the fat man's daughter, whom he left behind after he left his wife, appears on the doorstep. The girl looks at her obese father with horror, and does not hesitate to express herself. But Charlie, ignoring the rudeness, invites the girl to sit down. The invalid offers Ellie favorable terms. She sometimes visits him and they do literature, in exchange for which Charlie gives her all the money he has saved in his bank account. Ollie is surprised by such an offer, and she immediately shows her character. The girl asked her father to stand up and walk over to her without a coaster, but Charlie fails and falls over. Ellie leaves, and the fat man is left alone again. He orders a pizza to once again dine on his worries. In the evening, the fat man is visited by Liz. The girl checks the condition of his heart and cleans his room, noticing on the table the essay that Ellie forgot. The friend calls the buddy for inviting his daughter in spite of the ex-wife's prohibitions and his appearance. To reassure her friend, Liz hands him a fresh giant hot dog, and the guy almost dies from choking on a piece of bun. Liz notices just in time and helps her friend spit the piece out. Waiting for Charlie to regain consciousness, Liz picks up the fallen hodgepodge from the floor and returns it to her friend. After teaching another class, Charlie accidentally finds a picture of his friend on the bookshelf. This makes him want to go into the locked room where the memorabilia are kept, but getting the key is a big problem and the fat man has to give up the idea. Ellie keeps her promise and comes to see her father, but she is still rude to him and spends all her time on the phone. While Charlie corrects mistakes in her essay, the fat man tries to strike up a conversation and talk about his ex-wife. But the daughter realizes that their life is not interesting to the man, so she answers very reluctantly. The girl admits that she can't forgive her father for leaving the family, but she sympathizes with him. Losing a friend has taken a toll on Charlie, and he's gained weight because of it. Ellie asked to talk about how the fat man's significant other died, but Charlie refuses to talk about it and returns to the subject of literature, asking his daughter to write a short essay while he's away for a while. Locked in the bathroom, Charlie doesn't hold back his tears, hoping that the sound of the water will drown out his cries, but Ellie hears her father suffering and reminds him of himself. There is a knock at the door and Ellie has to open it. On the doorstep is Thomas, the preacher boy, who has decided to go back to the fat man and offer to help him. After finding out where the boy came from, Ellie leaves him with his father and leaves, promising to come back the next day for his essay. But instead of getting to work, Charlie sits down across from the young man to talk to him about the end of the world and great writing. Thomas tries to convince the fat man that he has a chance for salvation, but Charlie asserts that he does not need it, and that the only way the preacher can help him is to get the key under the bed and open the mysterious door. The men's conversation is interrupted by Liz, was returned to her friend with a gift, a wheelchair. On seeing Thomas, the girl gets furious, but Charlie calms her down by saying that he invited the boy to help him. The armchair fits the fat man, and he happily frees his hands, while he is fascinated by the new transport. Liz takes Thomas outside, have a few words with him. The girl asks the preacher not to come again, but gaining courage, Thomas declares that he wants to be Charlie's spiritual advisor because he doesn't have much left. Liz sits down across from Thomas and tells him the tragic story of her family, connected to the sect in which the young man serves. The girl's father was so consumed with religion that he kicked his son out of the house and even let him end his life. Despite the story, Thomas insists, and Liz, forgetting all decency, rudely orders him out of the disabled man's life. But upon hearing this, Charlie asked her friend to calm down. When her friend leaves, Charlie finally gets to the room that he has wanted to get into all morning, but the man can't get in. The chair is wider than the doorway. The fat man has no choice but to look down the hallway at the things that are dear to his heart and breathe in the smell of the room. The delivery man delivers the pizza again, but this time he gives the customer his name, and Charlie becomes less lonely. After sitting down in front of the TV, the fat man eats the pizza, and remembering his daughter's essay, he picks up her notebook. Instead of an essay, the girl has written 3 rude sentences in it, but even this pleases the teacher and he begins to laugh. Laughter causes another heart attack, and to calm down, Charlie remembers the essay about the whale, which helps him cope with his panic. Ellie arrives the next day, and her father asks her to continue writing. Despite the girl's foul mood, he tries to have a heart-to-heart talk with Ellie, but the girl cannot get over her father's betrayal, and she does not hold back and tells him everything that is accumulated in her soul. Ellie doesn't understand why her father stopped talking to her 8 years ago, but Charlie admits that he was just afraid that someone might not want him like that. Despite her anger, Ellie gets up to the refrigerator to get a snack and feed her father, but she warns him that his sandwich will be very small and without harmful additives. Such concern makes the man so happy that tears come to his eyes. The girl stays up late, and her father falls asleep right in his chair in the middle of the living room. Deciding to take advantage of this, she looks around Charlie's house, but just as she enters the mysterious room, there is a knock on the door. Thomas, back at the invalid's house, is frightened that Charlie is sleeping so soundly, but Ellie admits that she put sleeping pills in his sandwich. The preacher is uncomfortable with the girl's behavior, so he plans to leave and return later, but Ellie, not wanting to lose the company, finds arguments to make her pal stay. The girl convinces Thomas to try her cigarette, and when the guy agrees, she takes a picture. The preacher gets a taste, and when the tension subsides, Ellie demands that the buddy tell the truth about where he's from. She has a cult buddy, and she knows Thomas has nothing to do with her. The guy locks himself in Charlie's secret room, and tells Ellie through the door that he really started out serving in the cult, but when he got tired of handing out flyers and being a backup, he stole a large sum of money and ran away. In his frankness, Thomas has no idea that Ellie is recording everything he says on a tape recorder, nor does the girl realize that the preacher is busy minding his own business. During the story, he is digging through Charlie's books and looking at his personal photographs. Liz enters the apartment without knocking, along with Ellie's mother, who stares and founded her ex-husband. Thomas escapes, and the girl has to confess to feeding her father dangerous pills. Charlie regains consciousness, and Liz has to put him on an oxygen tank. The room begins to talk about the money he offered Ellie for visiting him. Liz becomes very hurt. All this time she has been helping the invalid for free, believing that he has no money, because he can't even pay for his own health insurance. Without saying anything, the helper leaves, leaving Charlie to his daughter and ex-wife. Mary asked her daughter to leave, and lastly, Ellie wishes her father a speedy exit. The only person left in the apartment with the invalid is his ex-wife, who immediately pours herself a glass of hot liquor. The former spouses reminisce on each other, but Mary has to confess that she didn't let Charlie see her daughter, because the girl grew up mean and cruel, and she was just afraid that Ellie would hurt her father with her behavior. To back up her words, Mary shows her husband a social media recording of her daughter. She's showing her sick father and attaching a mocking tape. Mary stops the scandal and expresses her husband's condolences for the loss of a close friend. She chuckles up to Charlie, and both try to remember how happy they were before the separation. Charlie confesses to his wife that his life has come to an end. He tearfully asked her not to leave Ellie, so that he can go to the next world in peace. Once again the man is alone. He notices that the plate of food for the birds is broken, and he becomes uncomfortable. The delivery man knocks on the door, and Charlie, as usual, asked him to leave the pizza and leave. But this time, the delivery man waits for the owner to leave the apartment, and the guy meets the fat man with the look of disgust on his face. Charlie shoves both pizzas into himself at once, while also leaving an angry message in the student chat room, to finish himself off as quickly as possible. He douses chunks of food with greasy sauces, munches on chips, and drinks soda until he feels sick. Thomas runs into the apartment. The joyful guy tells the fat guy the truth and tells him that Ellie sent the pictures and a table of his confession to the church, and now he can go home. His friends and parents forgive him and want him to come back soon. As we say goodbye, the boy tries to set the disabled man on the right path, and reads him a passage from the Bible, but Charlie won't listen, believing that God is to blame for the way he has become. He gives the young man a Bible and asks him to go away, leaving him alone. Charlie has his last class, and he turns on the camera, showing the students what he looks like, after which the teacher smashes the laptop. Liz comes to her buddy, despite her resentment. She blames him for what he's done to himself, reminding her that she's already had to say goodbye to Alan, the brother her father kicked out of the family because of his friendship with Charlie. Charlie breathes out of his last breath, as Ellie suddenly comes running into the apartment. Liz hugs her friend, realizing that this is the last time she will see him, and leaves, leaving the fat man to say goodbye to his daughter. Ellie yells at her father for giving her the wrong essay, but it turns out that Charlie planted a story about a whale that Ellie herself wrote back in 4th grade. The girl asked her father to go to the hospital, but he refuses and asks that his daughter read her essay to him. While Ellie reads, Charlie gathers all the strength to get up and approach her. He manages to take a few steps, after which he goes to heaven. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.